Okay, can start.
Okay, good afternoon, students and classmates. This is Group 4, and this is our presentation on Chapter 7 of the Exploring Leadership book, Effectively Interacting in Teams and Groups. After this presentation, you'll have insights into the characteristics of groups, the way groups develop, the dynamics among group members, concepts of teamwork, collaboration in group work, and applications of the relational leadership model. Understanding groups. There are three key dimensions that help us understand different types of groups, and they are the purposes, structure, and time. Leadership roles in groups range from leaderless groups in which a group of people get together to do something, but no one is the formal leader, to highly structured groups with a person in a position as the formal leader, for example, the president, chairperson, or director. In the informal setting, participants share needed roles and leadership emerges or is all around in the group. Many times people confuse teams and groups. Now, while they both share similarities, such as the prevalence of a number of people or group of people, there are some distinctions. What is the difference between a team and a group?
Have you ever wondered if you're leading a team or a group? To lead effectively, it is important we recognize whether we are leading a team or a group. The difference is subtle but important. We don't coach a baseball group or lead a focus team. We coach a baseball team and lead a focus group. Let's understand the difference. In this short video, we will compare and contrast teams and groups by looking at their definitions and characteristics. A team is a unit of two or more people who interact regularly and coordinate their work to accomplish a shared goal or purpose. The three key components being that teams are made up of two or more individuals. The individuals in teams work together regularly and they share a goal. A group is comprised of three or more people who recognize themselves as a distinct unit or department, but who work independently of each other to achieve their organizational goals. Let's note that groups are made up of three or more individuals that work independently of one another toward their organization's goals. Let's delve a little deeper and contrast the characteristics of teams and groups. Teams share or rotate leadership roles, whereas a group has a designated strong leader. Teams possess accountability mutually as a team and as individuals. Individuals and groups generally only feel accountable for their independent work within the group. This may be due to the fact that when performance goals are set, teams set their goals themselves, whereas performance goals for groups are often set by others. Teams typically have a very specific vision or purpose, whereas the purpose of a group tends to be that of the organization. Teams work beyond organizational boundaries, and groups work within them. Teams thrive in providing open-ended discussion, active problem solving, and mutual feedback, whereas groups thrive with meetings and delegation. The next time you're leading two or more people, ask yourself, am I leading a group or a team? Remember these subtle differences that will make a big difference in your impact as a manager or leader. Have fun.
So hopefully that gave a bit more insight in terms of differentiating what a team is as opposed to what a group is. Now we move on to the stages of group development. According to Tuckerman, there are 5 main stages of group development, and they are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Forming. Forming is the group's initial stage of coming together, which includes such tasks as member recruitment and affiliation. Storming. Storming is the stage in which the group starts to get in gear and differences of opinion begin to emerge. If the group is not clear about its purposes and goals, or if the group cannot agree on shared goals, then the group may collapse at this stage. Norming. Norming follows storming. Once the group resolves key differences, it establishes patterns of how it gets work done. At this stage, individuals in the group deal with both intimacy and identity. Performing. Performing is the 4th stage of group development, built on the strong foundation of the previous 3 stages. The group now cycles into a mature stage of equilibrium, getting its work done. Adjourning. The 5th stage, adjourning, is the final stage of group development. According to Tuckerman and Jansen, they would have amended this stage model to accommodate this specific phase, which is really the closure of the group experience. Groups exist over different time frames, and that is something that needs to be considered. Each stage is critical for a group's success and cohesive functioning. So we've gone through these stages, but how is this applicable in real life? And how does it play out itself? Let's take a look at the 5 stages of team building.
Hi! In this video, you will learn how a team is developed in a business. Building a team takes time and effort. Do not expect a group of people to work together smoothly for the first time. Without proper leadership and management skills, you will not be able to build an exceptional team. Communication between members is also very important when developing a team. The following are 5 essential stages that a business goes through during team development. The first stage is the forming stage. In this stage, members are getting to know each other. They are trying to understand the roles that must be taken and the goals that are addressed to achieve. The leader at this point is working together with the colleagues, directing them to what this is all about. The second stage is the storming stage. In this stage, conflicts arise. Members are uncomfortable with their fellow colleagues. Competition for roles and leadership arises. Differences in perspectives and experiences collide with each other. At this point, the leader steps in to reduce tension. Next comes the norming stage. In this stage, members are starting to communicate together. Trust is starting to build among them. By now, everyone knows what their role is. Leaders at this point are settling communications between members, enabling the start of a stable teamwork. Now we reach the performing stage. In this stage, a high level of communication, understanding, and trust has been achieved between the team members. Individuals are working together efficiently to achieve their common goal. Group decision-making, collaboration, motivation, and effective development is happening here. At this point, leaders offer gratitude to their members individually and also as a team for their striving performance. The last stage is the adjourning stage. In this stage, the delegated roles have either been completed effectively or not. The goal has been achieved or not. According to the accomplishments, the team either becomes permanent or temporary. Some members are forced to go back to the early stages due to their incapability of achieving what was desired. Others remain as a stable team, taking on more responsibilities on future projects. As explained, team development goes through 5 stages that we advise to help you lead your employees to a joint effort. Achieving a hardworking, trustful, and excelling teamwork is similar to achieving a valuable gem for your business. Over the years, if taken care of, its value increases, giving prosperity to its owner.
So let's move on to relational leadership and stages of group development. When a group is in the various phases, relational leadership philosophy would encourage participants to do certain things. In the forming stage, this philosophy encourages its members to be inclusive and empowering, making sure all the shareholders and stakeholders are involved. They seek diverse members to bring talent to the group, model the process of inclusion and shared leadership, and identify common purposes and targets of change. In the storming phase, this philosophy encourages members to create a climate in which each person matters and build commitment to the group as a community of practice, to be ethical and open, patient, and also to give divergent views a full hearing. Be aware when there may be bias or blocking of the full participation of another member, and handling conflict directly and openly, encouraging participants to identify their biases and revisit the purposes of the group and targets of change. In the norming phase, this philosophy encourages to be fair with processes, practice collaboration, keep new members welcomed, informed, and involved, clarify the individual's responsibility to and expectations of the group, and the group's responsibilities to and expectations of individuals. In the performing stage, this philosophy encourages to celebrate the accomplishments and find renewal in relationships, to empower its members to learn new skills and share roles in new ways to stay fresh, and to revisit purposes and rebuild commitment. Through the various stages, members of the group will begin to understand the dynamics of the group. Certain habits and codes, for lack of better words, are established and members are aware of these. This includes how the group makes decisions, how the group handles conflict, and how the group meets its leadership needs. Understanding your role in a group is critical, else chaos may ensue. There are two kinds of rules in groups. Number one, group building rules and task rules. It is important to note that none of these are more important than the other. They are both equally important for the successful functioning of a group. Group building rules are actions that focus on the group as a people, including the relationships among members. Group building rules attend to the process of the group, or also group maintenance rules and task rules. Task rules function on accomplishing the purposes of the group, including giving information and opinions and moving the group along on tasks by summarizing and by using various decision-making strategies. Task rules are focused on the content of the group discussion. Task rule behavior. Task rule behaviors include, and there are different rules that we will go through. The initiator, which is a person that proposes the goals and the plans of action or activities. The information giver, a person who would offer facts, information, evidence, and personal experiences. The information seeker, someone in the group who asks others for facts, information, evidence, personal experiences. The evaluator or the critic, who analyzes suggestions for strengths and weaknesses. The clarifier, who makes ambitious statements clearer and interprets issues. And the elaborator, who develops an idea previously expressed by giving examples, illustrations, and explanations. And lastly, the recorder. This is the person that takes notes in the group discussions, important decisions, and commitments to action. What are group building rules? So there are a number of different group building rules. We have the encourager, who is someone that's functionally is kind of like the team's cheerleader. Then you have the harmonizer. The harmonizer's job is to ensure that the group effectively handles conflict. Then you have the compromiser. The compromiser is someone who realizes that his or her ideas are in conflict with another person, or who realizes that his or her ideas are in conflict with another person or faction of the group or team, but still opts to compromise for the sake of the harmonious functioning of the group. The gatekeeper. The gatekeeper ensures that all members of the group have an opportunity to participate. The standard setter. The standard setter establishes the group standards for performance and behavior. Group observer and commentator. The group observer and commentator observes that the group's processes and provides feedback. I will now hand you over to my colleague.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Neil Knights McLeod, and I will begin tonight with the examples of norms. So firstly, we have explicit norms. These are formal rules and regulations. For example, in a game of chess, it is expected that each player adheres to specific rules for moving their pieces. Following this, we have implicit norms. Implicit norms are those that develop organically as a result of a group's unique cultural customs. These could involve arranging office workstations and an open layout to encourage collaboration, or maybe even something like having, a birthday party, a little birthday get together, or a way to recognize someone. It's something that develops in the organization. Up next, we have a video on understanding conflict.
In this video, we'll define conflict and identify what conflict is. We'll discuss the different types of conflict, then identify the different sources of conflict. Lastly, we'll talk about takeaways from this video. In my opinion, conflict occurs when values, opinions, and/or beliefs are not agreed upon by one or more parties. It feels like the stronger the opposing beliefs, the more intense the conflict. Conflict can occur between one person and another. It can occur between groups or teams, or it can occur between a person and a group. Conflict can also occur when two different parties think differently, meaning everyone wants to achieve the same end result, but one person may work best with a task list and another person sees the vision but can't articulate the specifics on the means to the end. The task list person may be conflicted with the project because of the manner in which to proceed, thus potentially causing interpersonal conflict. Conflict can either be people or issue-based. When it's based on people, it may also be called interpersonal or affective conflict. When it's based on an issue, it may be called cognitive conflict. To diagnose the type of conflict, look at whether the focus is a difference of opinion or if it's related to a problem. If it's a difference of opinion, it's people-based. If it's problem-related, it's issue-based or cognitive. The impact that conflict has on organizations is tremendous, both in positive and negative manners. For example, organizations with interpersonal conflict are not as likely to be effective, probably because they're spending their time trying to resolve non-value added issues. However, organizations who establish an environment where associates are encouraged to challenge ideas in a professional manner have demonstrated improved performance. Team conflict may fall into either category. Managers' most important contribution to conflict resolution is communication. For example, conflict could exist on a team because one team member feels having meetings with an agenda will keep everyone focused and on track, but the team leader doesn't want to have a formal agenda for every meeting. Affective conflict occurs when disagreements become personal rather than professional. An example of this may be not attending a meeting because you don't like the person who's actually facilitating it. In general, the longer the time the parties are in conflict, the more intense the conflict becomes. Ideally, managers should look to resolve conflict as they become aware that it exists. The first step is to identify the source of the conflict. According to Witten and Cameron, there are 4 sources of conflict: personal differences, informational deficiencies, role incompatibility, and environmentally induced stress. Personal differences are a result of the different backgrounds and experiences clashing. These are often highly emotional and can be difficult to resolve. The best way to resolve is to look at the situation from the other person's perspective and make an honest attempt to understand it. In the event that this isn't successful, it's best for both parties to professionally and respectfully agree to disagree and move on. Informational deficiencies are a result of not receiving a message or misinterpreting a message. These are often fact-based and easy to resolve because emotions are not involved. Assuming there is no harmful intent, it is best to break down the facts, walk through them with all parties involved, and identify where the miscommunication occurred. When trying to create a win-win environment, there are usually no hard feelings left on the table. Role incompatibility usually occurs when employee tasks are highly interdependent. Every department has a different role within the organization with different goals. An example would be if someone in sales promises new functionality on your product on the next generation, but the quality team knows that it has to go through a significant and costly process to ensure it maintains the proper government regulations. This would probably need to be escalated to director level to be resolved if it couldn't be resolved within the sales and quality teams. The last major source of conflict is working in an environment with significant stress. An example would be when the leadership team challenges operations to reduce expenses by, let's say, $1 million. Those who know the intricacies of their department budget know that this is about half of their total expense budget, and the result is often immediate fear of layoffs. Uncertainty is another environmental fear that causes stress. Is our organization relevant? What's the value of my position? All of these factors cause stress within your natural working environment. One of the blessings in life is that we're all unique. As a natural consequence, there will be disagreements throughout your life. The best thing you can do is to manage your own reactions. Some disagreements you can laugh off, and some you'll remember for decades. You only get one life to live, so think about what's worth your time and energy. Do your best to understand the other person's perspective, make an effort to create win-win situations, and know that it's okay to disagree and still be friends or colleagues.
Understanding conflicts. There are both advantages and disadvantages of conflict. Some advantages are it can increase motivation and energy, clarifies issues and positions, can build internal cohesiveness and esprit de corps, can lead to innovation and creativity, can increase self-awareness, may be a means of dealing with internal conflicts, and can lead to a new synthesis, touching off a bit there, of ideas or methods. Some liabilities, it can be debilitating, it can distract from goal achievement, can cause defensiveness and rigidity, can cause distortions of reality, often becomes a negatively reinforcing cycle, tends to escalate and to proliferate. It becomes more serious and it creates more issues, and there are also efforts to resolve are not often reciprocated. Conflict avoidance versus resolution in the workplace. Conflict avoidance. Scenario. A project team in the workplace where two team members have conflicting ideas about the project's direction. Instead of addressing the conflict, one team member chooses to avoid it, keeping the concerns to himself and hoping the issue will disappear. As a result, the project suffers and tension builds among team members, leading to reduced collaboration and productivity. Conflict resolution. In this scenario, the team acknowledges the conflict and decides to resolve it. They schedule a meeting to openly discuss their differing ideas, during which both team members express their viewpoints, listen actively to each other, and work together through compromise and collaboration. They develop a stronger project plan that incorporates the best of both ideas. This improves the project's quality and enhances team cohesion and trust, leading to a successful outcome. The reciprocal and relational models of leadership. The reciprocal and relational models of leadership recognize that conflict in group dynamics is unavoidable. The relational leadership model emphasizes handling conflicts in ways that promote and empowerment. Anticipating differences in ideas and approaches among team members, the model suggests establishing ground rules or group norms to facilitate open and honest discussions about potential conflicts. These ground rules aim to create a safe environment for expressing differences and may include ensuring everyone has a chance to voice their opinions and actively seeking points of agreement and disagreement.
Hello, welcome to this video module on relational leadership. Today, we'll explore the distinction between positional and relational views of leadership using Komovitz, Lucas, and McMahon's 1998 book on college student leadership. First, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Brett Tallman. I'm an engineer in Bozeman working in product development, small-scale manufacturing, and the biomedical field. For the past several years, I've been exploring engineering education, and I'm now finishing my doctorate in industrial engineering. I'm really interested in the topic of engineering leadership, and I'm excited to have you along as we explore a little bit of it together.
To start with, let's take a moment to think about what leadership even is. Let me ask you a question. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say leadership? Some might think of a powerful politician, maybe an important historical figure, or a business success, or even a fictional character. Usually people think of someone in charge, and for a long time, this is how we've thought of leadership. One individual leading many to do something great. Sometimes we call this positional leadership. And it might be the model that has guided your school experience thus far. But as civilization and technology has progressed, the challenges facing society require more than one great person. Technical competence, creative insight, or brainstorming have led to great advances in the world we see around us. For example, technical solutions often require a diverse team of experts working interdependently. With a combination of collaboration, autonomy, and trust, more than ever before, these challenges require groups that work together towards a common goal or a purpose. So we need to update our understanding of leadership to fit today's challenges. The relational approach proposes that we expand our understanding of leadership. In addition to something one person does, we can also envision leadership occurring in a way not based on position or authority. Rather, those with relevant skill, knowledge, or experience, they bear responsibility for the project when it's in their wheelhouse. This brings us to the relational approach to leadership. Leadership is defined as a relational and ethical process of people together attempting to accomplish positive change. In this process, members are engaged in working together towards a shared purpose. Maybe that purpose is clean drinking water in the developing world. Maybe it's a new orthopedic medical device, or developing a system that filters indoor recirculated air to eliminate viruses. What's the common theme in these? They're changes, hopefully positive, to the status quo. And they're accomplished by a team working with common purpose. the key component of this approach is working within the context of relationship. So members depend on each other, and each member bears responsibility for group success. For example, the water pump expert works with a site engineer. Because their fields are so entwined, neither can succeed without the expertise of the other. So what does this approach look like? The relational approach centers purpose at the heart of leadership. This means each member is committed to the group goal, such as a new product or innovation. An important aspect of this is empowerment. Rather than one authority surrounded by servants, this model of leadership suggests an interdependence between members. In other words, every member bears responsibility for project success, and they depend on each other. For example, to develop a new filtration system, one person may specialize in filters, one in airflow, and another in virus control. Each contributes in a special way. The third idea is ethics. If a group is to wield the power of change, the goal should be improving society, not exploiting it. And as an engineer, our professional mandate to protect the public welfare comes before our responsibility as employees. The third prong is inclusion. By integrating diverse perspectives in the pursuit of a goal, a broad, more balanced approach may be found by engaging many rather than few in the conversation. For example, we need not only to understand how airflow is important in the classrooms, but also in offices, restrooms, and common spaces. Finally, the idea that surrounds all this is process. What activities characterize the group? How are decisions reached? How are members included? How is purpose pursued? For example, is collaboration common? How about reflection? Is the community supportive? Is criticism civil? Is feedback transparent and fair? The context of process reminds us that leadership is not a static state, but a process. In sum, relational leadership proposes that contributing to a group's purpose is everyone's responsibility. Moreover, when all members are included and empowered to engage, the effectiveness of the group improves. Using this approach allows us to consider leadership with a focus on shared purpose in an ethical way that respects and values all involved.
Well, we've come to the end of today's brief introduction into relational leadership, and I hope this has given you some insight into more expansive ways of working with others towards a shared goal in meaningful, interdependent ways. Thank you for joining me today.
So I do hope that video on relational leadership clarified any questions that anyone may have had regarding that. So far, is everyone clear on what has been presented? Do you have any questions on anything that I've covered? Okay, so moving on. Group decision making. Traditional views of leadership often assume that a group or organization has a formal leader with the authority and responsibility for making final decisions. On many occasions, the positional leader has to make a decision on behalf of the group. Some possible reasons for this are time constraints, the leader's representation of the group in other meetings, or the leader's judgment that the decision isn't significant enough to warrant a full group discussion. Whenever a positional leader is faced with making an individual decision, the relational leadership model will be useful in guiding the decision process. The leader should ask his or herself these questions. Does the decision support our vision and mission? Is it purposeful? What opinions do my group members have about this issue? Is it inclusive? Will this decision heighten our involvement or limit involvement? Is it empowering? Is it the right thing to do? Is it principled? Or is it ethical? Should I slow down making this decision so that others can get involved? Is it process oriented? Informal organizations led by positional leaders, participative leadership is typically defined as the use of decision procedures that allow other individuals to have some influence over the leader's decisions. This approach recognizes the value of having those affected by a decision involved in the decision-making process and leads to better decisions and greater acceptance of those decisions. The word allow identifies that the positional leader holds the responsibility and authority to decide whether to involve others or not. However, a more constructive perspective is to assume that key decisions should involve the entire organization, as they have the right to be and should be part of the decision-making process. This shift implies that the focus should not be on how to best involve them. This shift implies that the focus should be on how to best involve them, not whether they should be involved. UCL 1989 on group decision-making identifies a continuum of 4 possible decision-making procedures: autocratic, consultation, joint decision, and delegation or participation. They range in the amount of influence others have on a decision from no influence to high influence. Johnson & Johnson 1994 describes 5 methods of decision-making: decision by authority, expert member, average members' opinions, decision by authority after discussion, or majority control. Each of the decision-making methods may have its own purpose, but relational leadership would promote consensus models wherever possible. When a trusting group climate exists, groups may select other models and be comfortable using minority control or majority control. It is the view of the author that some decisions are best made by an authority or expert. However, most groups would benefit by shifting important decisions that affect the entire community to a discussion and consensus model. Consensus. Rayner 1996 provides the following definition on consensus. Consensus does not mean that everyone on the team thinks the best possible decision has been reached. It does mean that no one is professionally violated by the decision and that all members will support its implementation. Consensus guidelines. Clearly define the issue facing the team, focus on similarities between positions, ensure that there is adequate time for discussion, and avoid conflict-reducing tendencies, example, voting. Not all decisions require the attention of the entire group. It would be absurd to waste group members' time or resources by meeting on everything. It is useful to think of 2 dimensions of decision: the need for quality in the decision and the need for acceptance of the decision. Consensus brings the highest commitment among participants. It is the most informed by the diverse knowledge bases in the group and takes the most time. Consensus requires that the group be willing to use strategies like active listening, compromising, and working in a collaborative manner. Encouraging divergent points of view, listening for understanding, and allowing people to disagree with each other with civility are important hallmarks of consensus building processes. When teams fail to reach consensus, it is often because they do not allow enough time for members to discuss perspectives and opinions to discover common ground, or because conflict is mismanaged or reaches a level that erodes trust among individuals. Mutual respect and trust among group members is a critical component to successfully achieving a decision by consensus. I will now pass you on to my colleague, Janelle, to continue with the presentation.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, class. My name is Janelle Maxwell, and I will be presenting on the topic teamwork, teams and groups, team learning, leadership implication, and team leadership. Let's get started. Firstly, I will define team. Team is the ability to work collectively with others to achieve a common goal. According to Phil Jackson, strength is not in the individuals, but in the team. By chance, anyone know who is Phil Jackson? Anyone? Okay, well, Phil Jackson is the coach, a former coach for Chicago Bulls and the Los Angeles Lakers. He is also known as an exemplary leader. Organizations have used different methods of metaphor to illustrate how individuals need to work together towards a common purpose. And these metaphors are sports and jazz. Sports. Putting a group of superstars together on any team, baseball, hockey, football, or soccer, and they will lose if they operate as an individual superstar. But once they start operating as a team, they become unbeatable. Jazz. Refer to members as an unblend. This metaphor was used in previous chapter in the book. Businesses use this type of metaphor to clearly describe cross-functional teams. Whatever the metaphor used, groups should share the goal of working towards being an effective team. The metaphor also have implications of moral, motivation, support, common purpose, diverse role, and inclusion. I would like to play a YouTube video on the power of teamwork.
The Oilers are a perfect 4-0.
Got one more item for you when you get a chance. We'd like it to stir up your cryo tanks.
How good can a team be? Seriously, how powerful is teamwork? Great teamwork. I mean, really ask that question. Who defines the limit? And what if we were to push that edge? Stop to think about this for a moment and realize that every team that accomplished the untouchable, every team that got out there, every team that had done what had never been done before, they all had to break through. They all had to understand that there was this edge. And then they had to challenge the edge. And then they had to break through that invisible line. They all had to do it.
Through that group of incredibly talented people, bumping up against each other, having arguments, having fights sometimes, making some noise, and working together, they polish each other. And they polish the ideas, and what comes out are these really beautiful stones.
There's no other way to get through other than challenging your fears. Because in order for teamwork to be at its highest potential, everyone's got to have something on the line. You have to. Otherwise, you're only partway in. At the end of the day, you're going to need to trust those around you. To fully trust. This is about us. And you can count on me. I think about New Zealand, this country with under 5 million people. And they have the best rugby team in the world. The All Blacks. Consistently the best in the world. Or the Apollo mission. A group of people saying, we hear you. We've got you. And all of our talents are on the line to get you home. That's teamwork. Think about the Beatles. All of that music that we know of theirs, all of it, was made in about 8 years. Just 8 years. They were that incredible as a team. Great teams, I mean, they're not about individuals melting into the team. That's the mistake. People hear about the power of teamwork, and they think it's about losing yourself to the singular goal. They think it's about fully giving in to something bigger than you. You don't lose yourself. Great teammates, they don't lose themselves. They stand up. They say, I'm here. They choose to be in, and they choose to play their unique part. That's how it works. So then what's the breakthrough? What did those teams see to unlock the full power of teamwork. You know, that's the hard part. You can't see the edge. You actually don't know where it is until you cross over and look back and see where it was. That's why it's always easier. I mean, it's always easier to catch up than it is to raise the bar. Because the team that broke through, they marked the line. And now everyone else, they just need to get over that mark. The Patriots, Belichick, Brady, I mean, what they've been doing is so unbelievable because they keep raising the bar. They keep nudging it higher. So even if people catch up, it's too late. You know, Steve Jobs and Apple.
For the first time ever, I'd like to let Macintosh speak for itself.
They were operating in this abyss. I mean, they were out there in this vast unknown. So instead of breaking through, instead of seeing the line, you have to forget the line. It's just another limit. The marker in great teams is never external because you're out in this unknown. You're out in this unmapped territory. So instead, the power of teamwork comes from a belief. It comes from a mindset. We can't get satisfied by the breakthroughs. We can celebrate them. We should celebrate them, but we can't be satisfied by the limits. That's what humbles me the most about great teams. That's what humbles me the most about the power of teamwork. Because it's almost like you've got to operate in the darkness, knowing you're lighting the path for everyone else, and still heading out there, still pushing that edge. That's how to unlock the power of teamwork.
To copy at the point. And on the board, take There's the presentation to Wayne Gretzky, the young Edmonton captain.
Teams and group. According to Cutter and Cohen, 2002, a group is a collection of individuals who coordinate their efforts, whereas a team is a group of people who share a common purpose. Two characteristics of a powerful group are it made up of the right people and demonstrate teamwork. According to Hughes, Jeanette, and Corey, 1993, the difference between groups and teams are both have mutual interaction and reciprocal influence. Teams have a strong sense of identity and common goals. Task interdependence is higher with teams than in groups. Team members have distinctive role than a group's members. Next slide, please. According to Quinton, 1996, define team as an enthusiastic set of competent people who have clear, defined rules. Parker, 2003, defined team as a group of people with high degree of interdependence geared towards achievement of a goal. Next slide, please. Exhibit 7.4 clearly describes working groups versus team. Firstly, we will start with working groups. In working groups, a clear focus leader is appointed. Organizational mission is the group purpose. Effectiveness is measured indirectly by group. Individual accountability is only evident. Meetings are effectively run and last for a period of time. In meeting, members discuss, decide, and delegate. We will now move on to teams. Teams share leadership exists among members. A specific, well-defined purpose that is unique to the team. Effectiveness is measured directly by accessing teamwork product. Both team and individual accountability are evident. Individual efforts and contribution to the team's success are recognized and celebrated. Meeting with members, discuss, decide, and do real work together. There are three common types of teams: functional, self-directed, and cross-functional. Functional teams tend to resemble organizations with power and authority are contained at the top. The diagram below provides a clear picture of what a functional team should look like. Next slide, please. Self-directed is typically a group whose members possess all the technical knowledge and skills to accomplish a goal with a certain degree of power delegated to members from a leader. The diagram below provides a clear picture of self-directed team. Cross-functional team. Next slide, please. Cross-functional team, composed of individuals from a variety of skill sets. No one possesses, for example, the creation of a new product. The project manager could assemble a cross-functional team comprising of engineers, designers, marketers, and customer support reps. The SMART rubric. Did you know SMART goals were developed by George Doran, Arthur Miller, and James Cunningham in the 1981 article? There's a smart way to write management goals and objectives. SMART stands for S, specific. The goal must be clear to everyone. M, measurable. It is quantifiable. A, attainable. The goal must be realistic and possible to achieve. R, relevant. The goal is in alignment with the direction of the organization. Time, time-bound. There is a set time frame by which the goal will be achieved. Next slide, please. Teams are more than a combination of skills set carried out by individual members. Teams are a blending of people with diverse backgrounds, histories, style, talents, and personalities. Next slide, please. According to Parker 2003, there are factors that are critical for team success, such as disregard organizational boundaries in an effort to arrive at the best solution, be sensitive and responsive of other team members, understand that common goals and targets for all the team members, frequent communication, all team members must pull their weight, capitalize on members' strength, develop a sense of trust among all members. Be willing to accept and try ideas that are different from the norm. Use a bit of humor when discussions get tense and the pressure to complete a task is high. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Team learning. Learning in teams may take many different ways, through group projects and group studies. According to Peter Sage, team learning is the process by which a group of people learns to work together effectively and help others to reach their shared goal. Next slide, please. Team learning can happen through dialogue and discussion. Team and dialogue need to be aware of the process of communication as well as the content, whereas discussion is where students discuss ideas and thoughts about a topic, which might lead to a debate and even to a failure of relationship that can unravel a group. Next slide, please. Next slide. I read that already. Sorry. Leadership implications. In a productive work community, leaders are not commanders and controllers, bosses and big shots. They are servers, partners, and providers. Posey and Posner, 1993. Team learning requires individual members to understand their motivations, to advocate for their own interests while being open to hearing others' points of view and to find a common ground. Members and leaders must all share the responsibility of processing and share group experience to make it a conscious process as a team. Always remember, success needs to be understood as well as failure. Next slide, please. The relational leadership model. The relational leadership models underscore the importance of both team develop and team performance. Team develop includes establishing effective relationship, creating an environment in which individuals feel valued, whereas team performance means accomplishing the group goal, making decisions and plans, achieving results, and solving problems. A recent research conducted on teams shows that productivity, innovation, creativity, decision-making, problem-solving increase as a result of people working in structured teams. Next slide, please. By balancing the ongoing activities, team leaders also face with both internal and external demands, such as monitoring, taking action, and paying attention to internal and external. According to Dr. Linda Hill, the characteristics of team leadership are as follows. You must have clear goals, results-driven structure, competent teams, unified commitment, collaborate climate, standard of excellence, principal leadership, and external support. Next slide, please. It is important to establish a team at the beginning before initiating work to be accomplished. Hughes, Jitton, and Kofi, 1992. There are 4 main conditions which are important at the beginning stage of a team development. To allow the team to work effectively, these are tasks. The team understand its tasks and find meaning. Group boundaries. Diversity exists within the team. Norm. To guide the behavior of the team members. Authority. Leader and team members allowed open debate and instill a sense of empowerment and trust. Next slide, please. Chapter summary. In this chapter, we learn group is the building block of communities. We function in many different groups that are different stage of development. It also presents development modes and principle of group dynamics, decision-making, conflict resolution, and team learning. It is important to note the difference between groups and team in order to be an effective team. Thank you for listening.
All right, if there are no questions, I will stop the recording.